Good afternoon, social media. I just want to talk about my day. Um, the first part that I'm going to talk about is not that, oh my gosh. So basically, I was walking down the street going to the police station because I had told the officer yesterday that I would come back today so I could speak to somebody for domestic violence, the domestic violence squad. Miraculously, they were not available today. Nobody was at the desk. I wasn't going to wait because I already knew. They intentionally did that. They weren't going to have anybody at the desk because they didn't want anybody to take my report. Um, and then there was a guy sitting there and he just stared at me. I mean, just constantly. And I looked at him and I said, stare harder. And he's like, oh, why the hostility? I said, anybody would have hostility if you're staring at people like that. That's not normal. And he said some dumb crap. And I was like, whatever. Anyway, long story short, I also went to a church today. I went to the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. And while I was at the church, I sat down. I got one of their hymn books. It was the only white hymn book. All the rest of them were black. I thought that was unique. There were several faces that I saw that were familiar, including the usher boy. He went to get the money from people. And he saw me, I saw him. And when he came to try to usher me, I looked at him and I was like, sinner, because I know he understands English. But I was thinking, because Ukraine is under attack from Russia right now. Well, at the last time that it wasn't censored, they were being oppressed, just like Israel, Palestinians. So I was like, okay, well, maybe the Ukrainians here will be a little bit more loving of people that are going through trauma, right? But I saw there weren't that many. There were probably about maybe 6 people. The ministers, they're all fat, old, and Caucasian appearing. The rest of the people there were not fat. Um, they were starving. And I sat there and the whole room just felt so sad, so sad. And I cried a couple times. I cried. I stood by the door initially, and then it was a couple, and then there was a guy. The couple walked outside to argue, and then the guy came back in with his buddy or something, and then they wanted to when they were leaving again, they tried to stand next to me and, give their thanks to the Lord. I walked away from them the minute they stood next to me, and they knew. And when that guy came in with his girl again, the girl didn't even want to stand next to him. She actually stood where I was standing. I don't know, I guess she wanted to take some of my essence over there, which I recall my energy back from any time, place, dimension, person, entity, or thing. I say it and so it is. And it was just crazy. And then there were a couple that had gone downstairs and they were mocking. I don't need to understand the language. They were laughing because they were half English, half Ukrainian. I don't know the language. I apologize. But I decided to go to the restroom and I took my tarot cards out and I asked the cards, I said, are these people sad? And the cards were like, success. Yes, they are. And I watched the way that they put the cross. They're cutting themselves from the head to the heart. And so when I was reading the hymn book, there was an area, because even reading the hymns was just so sad, so sad. And one of the hymns just was like, oh, have mercy on me. Please do not take my spirit from me. And I am so sorry. It was just so desperation in the hymns. And it reminded me of the Catholic Church. And I asked the cards, I said, is it because they're being forced to separate themselves from God? And the cards agreed. And when I was in there, one of their rituals is they have this huge cup and they have everybody drink from the same area. I'm like, that's bacteria, right? But they're sharing each other's DNA. They're all putting their DNA on it. And then I saw that they also have their holiday soup bowls where everybody gets food. And I'm like, well, if this Orthodox Church is cutting off people from their selves and they're asking for forgiveness so that their souls can be reincarnated for continuous harvest, and then they're eating dead humans in these huge soup bowls. This is the ritualized entrapment of human souls through these churches. And like I said, I thought that the Ukrainian Orthodox Church out here would be something of, something that would take me in, I guess, because I am targeted. And they're targeted right now. But there are some Ukrainians that are demon worshippers, demon possessed, blood sacrifice ritualists. They're so lost. I wanted to stay, but it was going to be a long service. I already could tell, but not just that. It was the sadness. The sadness was pretty overwhelming. It came in waves. And it just got worse as the sermon went on. It was pretty sad. Another random comment. I took a picture. I'm going to post it. I saw a hearse. Down the street from there, I saw a hearse. And the hearse, Riverside Memorial Chapel. Now, I didn't read that it said Riverside Memorial Chapel. I just saw the hearse and it said Riverside Memorial. And I was like, how funny. Riverside County, where there was so much corruption at the police department and how, it went up in smoke with fentanyl because of Christopher Olson, Deputy Olson, and all of the other relatives that were in the board of supervisors there. Anyway, when I was walking away from the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, I came back across. Now their hearses were gone, but I came back across and it said Riverside Memorial Chapel. And I was like, oh, is it another church? Let me go check it out. But it was the morgue. And I was just like, what? I said, I thought you guys were a church. Church is supposed to bring in the spirit, right? So that memorial was to harvest the spirits. It's in plain sight now. Wow. Just wow. And no wonder they're laughing at us about transhumanism and, the dominion. They're already 5 out of 7 steps complete in making us completely subservient. Unless we follow God and heighten our vibration away from all of this technology. If we heighten ourselves from this technology, or heighten our vibration against low vibrational entities that feed off of our souls, feed off of our physical energy. That's why they do the sexual rituals. They feed off of all that. Our brains create a magnetic field. The magnetic field, the torque of it, it's a gradient. What is it? I wish I could remember it. It's a gradient, but basically it's a force. So your magnetic field creates a force. That force creates an energy. Okay? That is what they are feeding off of. They're feeding off your brain. Your brain is where the magnetic force, one of the major ones. I can't say about the heart and everything else. I don't know. Again, biology is not my specialty, but I was always fascinated with the brain. So they're cutting people off from that energy, and they are harvesting it, and then they kill off the people that don't understand, and their souls are trapped in a cycle when they're born again. Some are given the opportunity to try to learn. They don't. They're trapped again. Some never learn. They're trapped for eternity. Hence, this is the devil's playground. But if we can step forward and be better than that and be above the devil, since we, the Bible says that we can command demons to leave us alone. If we become above that, then we can control our destinies and we take back our sovereignty, our freedom from any entities, from any extraterrestrial creatures, if you want to call them that, from any demons, if that's what you want to believe. Whatever you want to believe isn't the point. The point is something is coming against you, and the best way to protect yourself is by rekindling your relationship with your Creator. I just wanted to put that out there because that was really sad to see. I loved the Catholic Church. I loved the choirs and the organs. To know that it has been distorted this way, it does more than break my heart. It's beyond sad. It's hopelessness. Anyway, scroll on.